Let's just see when we're live. Because that's always the fun part, you know, waiting for YouTube to catch up. To be like, oh, hey, yeah, you are actually live and going, you know? Awesome. So first, I have to apologize for weird schedule. Wednesday, I did take a break to let my voice heal a bit. Yesterday, I actually had an interview, so I was just wiped out after that, so wasn't here. And today, I was planning on streaming, and then I woke up and I saw the news out of the States of Roe v. Wade being overturned. And I didn't know if it was right to stream. Because of what's going on. You know, I know probably a lot of people are like, you're Canadian, why does it matter? The US and kind of like the US's ideologies and thinking do have a lot of sway, not sway, but it does impact Canadians, probably more than people think it does. And, you know, I just want to say to anyone who is scared right now that that's valid. That's a valid feeling. And I want to say to I don't know, what even is it that, I don't even know what to say, you know? I guess that just like, it's a scary time, and this being overturned opens the door for so many other things to be overturned. And it's also crazy how in the United States, guns have more legal rights than women do at this point. That, you know, like I can't even, I don't know, I can't even. You know, I didn't feel right streaming today without acknowledging what's happening, and just that shit's fucked, man. So I guess we'll fucking just try to forget about that for an hour. In a bit, maybe? I don't know. It's all stupid. Alright. Not long after you wake up tonight, Gregory knocks on the door of your apartment. Hey, I came to pick you up. Miss Langley wants to see you. Do you know what she needs me for if I don't want to see her? Well, my freedom was good while it lasted. What does she need me? Any idea what she needs me for? I'm not in the position to ask. He smiles politely. The car's waiting. Shall we? You wrestle with the same thoughts as a few nights ago. Maybe you should just leave. Disappear. Let Sophie find somebody else to employ. But then you remembered the anarch thug being cut down by Kadir and how close you were to the same fate not even a week ago. And that might still happen if you step out of line. You follow suit. As with your previous visit here, Sophie seems not entirely present when you enter. Her eyes are locked onto one of the paintings in the room. Your Praetor was here earlier, but she's behaving as if she's seeing it for the first time in her life, entirely entranced. Gregory clears his throat. Sophie turns to the both of you, a bit of irritation in her countenance that soon gives way to a pleasant, warm smile. You're here. Excellent. Thank you, Gregory. Her driver leaves and she turns her attention to you. I hope you had a good few nights and made some new acquaintances, but I have to say, I'm happy to see you, Porcelain. Thank you for coming. The change in mood of the room is so sudden and startling. It makes you consider the true power of vampiric charisma. Rationally, you know you're being manipulated, but you don't even care. Her eyes, her motions, her entire body language all feel 100% genuine and in expressing legitimate interest in you and your well-being. I have a request for you this night. I need you to find somebody for me and make a delivery. She points to the statue at the side of the room. You notice a plain-looking flash drive lying on the edge where the intimate archer's bow touches the pedestal. The man you'll be looking for calls himself Casier. He has eyes and ears all over New York, and it's rare for something to happen here without his knowledge. I'll need you to take this flash drive and bring it to him. In exchange, he will give you an address, which I need to know as soon as possible. You're about to ask what's on the drive, but Sophie proves to be one step ahead of you. Oh, don't worry about the contents. They are encrypted, a precaution for if the data falls into the wrong hands. But it won't, correct? She gives you a smile that just a handful of nights ago would make you feel like melting. Oh, and Porcelain. Caesier is a Nosferatu, that twisted, deformed lineage of kindred. He is old, and his age has made him even more paranoid than others of his clan tend to be. He holds many havens and changes them often. From what I've gathered... Hello, Beat Soul, how are you? From what I gathered, he or one of his servants should be found at the park on Coney Island tonight. You'll have to identify them, somehow. I'm told Caesier has spent many of his nights these past few years being driven around the city in a black limo. Maybe keep an eye out for it. That smile again, but much shorter. Anything more on Caesier? What do you need trade? Why don't... anything more? Anything more you can tell me about Caesier? I'm fine. How about you? I'm doing fine as well. Still kind of... I don't know. I'm sad about the U.S., so... And Roe v. Wade. So, yeah. He's been here a long time, about as long as I have. He's got into a lot of trouble for exchanging information with both the Anarchs and the Camarilla in the past, but ultimately got off scot-free. Caesier's web of information... I was playing The Binding of Isaac? Nice. Caesier's web of information proved to be strong enough to shield him from the consequences of playing both sides. Some say that's the best proof of his abilities. In any case, be careful when talking to him. He's very particular about everyone's etiquette except his own. Good night and good luck. She flashes one last smile at you and turns back to the painting, clearly done with the conversation. You pocket the flash drive and head out toward Coney Island. It takes you the better part of an hour to reach the lights and sounds of the Coney Island amusement park from the city. The drive is almost pleasant this time of night. Thank God for Belt Parkway. There are plenty of people here tonight, but nobody who stands out as the traveling purveyor of secrets. Then again, if they did stand out, it would be kind of pointless, right? Nothing to do but figure out the right approach. Ask around, search for sign... open senses. Oh, I have to feed soon. You take a moment to focus and try to pick up on any details that would help you with locating Caesier. Initially, the noise from the nearby amusement park floods your mind and momentarily stuns you. A child's crying, the loud bang of a car door closing, the bright old school logo of the Cyclone roller coaster all overload your senses, and you have to lean on the nearby booths to stay upright. You regain control, start walking, listening in, taking in the sights and smells, looking for something, anything to point you in the right direction. A man talking on his phone, a snippet of conversation. Clean the red stuff from the garage, tidied up in general, the limo fit for sure. Come on, don't be like that, boss. I didn't mean to. Yes, I know, I am. It's a privilege, Mr. K, sir. The call ends. The man tucks the phone away. It's a fancy model, doesn't look like anything readily available on the market, and doesn't fit the guy's rugged looks at all. He notices you. Hey, what you looking at, huh? You're just the guy I was looking for. Looks like you're just the guy I was looking for. Care to call your boss again for me? Huh? No, I think you heard wrong. Piss off. Tell him Sophie. Listen, I was sent here by Sophie Langley. She has something for Caesier. I need to contact him and hand it over. Nothing more to it. Don't know her, and I told you already. I don't know who Caesier is either. He sees it down in your face. Fuck it. Stay right there. He produces his phone. It's a fancy model. Doesn't look like anything readily available on the market. Unlocks it. Dials the number. 2 tones go by. A voice on the other end. Sorry to bother you again, boss. Yeah, I know how much you need your alone time. That sounds very nice. There's somebody here who wants to see you. They're with... Langley? Sophie Langley, yeah. A string of loud obscenities fill the phone. The man winces and pushes it away from his ear, and then the call stops. Almost immediately a chime. The Count's laugh from Sesame Street? Wow, announces a new message sent to the phone. He's, on his way. Don't go anywhere. Not 15 minutes pass before a black limo stops near where you're waiting. One door opens an invitation. The inside of the limo used to be a luxury lounge. The kind with a stripper pole and a bar instead of alcohol, and a bar full of alcohol, but currently has none of that. Instead, there are monitors and consoles. There are dozens of displays, each one showing something different. Surveillance camera footage, stock market quotes, television news, emails, tweets, silent movies, lo-fi footage of a gory torture session. You wonder if the limo's owner can focus on anything while surrounded by all of this visual noise and then realize there's nobody there. Or is there? A man blinks into existence on a leather-covered couch, attempting to maintain something that approximates a regal presence. You're 100% certain. It's Caesier. Surrounded by dimly lit computer screens, his features are even more ghastly than you imagined. All sharp angles of twisted bone, mangled flesh, and crooked teeth. He bears them in an awful parody of a smile. The doors close behind you. Oh, hi. So the waste of good blood outside tells me Sophie Langley sent you, huh? You got something for me? You reluctantly pull the flash drive from your pocket and slowly pass it to Casier. He plugs into a USB port on the arm of his chair and displays the data on one of the screens that happen to be turned away from you. It takes him about a minute to access the data. Who do you people think I am? I saw this footage a week ago. He removes the flash drive and throws it back at you in disgust. Tell Sophie the deal's off. She wants her address. She can give me something else. Ask him to give you a break. Ask him to take the deal. Give me a break. Come on, give me a break. How could we have known that you'd already seen this material? He gives you a patronizing look. Kid, you're new here, so I'll pretend I didn't hear that. You want your address? You're gonna have to work for it. I have just the idea. Yeah, something appropriate for an eager fledgling like yourself. More on that soon. Stay tuned. Now get the fuck out. You're pretty sure you're done here. You get out, close the door behind you, and the car immediately starts backing up. The opaque windows slide past you, and soon the limo is on its way. Casey's lackey is nowhere to be seen, so you make your way to your car and drive back, wondering what tomorrow brings. Alright, so we can either Juno and Agathon. Hope it's about to have a city accompany her and see your true face, gum in the shoe, or Jezebel's childer. Huh. Well, let's check out on Juno. You know what to expect when you return to the small bookstore serving as Agathon's haven. The cacophony of occult imagery assaults you from the book covers displayed on the window, but under the fake facade there's something real. This time, the Buddhas and the satanic Bibles of the storefront seem almost funny, or perhaps you've just started to tune into the dry humor of these Tremere. Just as you're about to ring the doorbell, the door opens and Agathon storms out. You step aside just in time to avoid having him stumble into you. Porcelain, what are you doing here? I came to help you. Hey, don't be a dick. Window shopping. I'm window shopping for books that would help me understand the wicked beast I've become. Agathon looks at you and sighs. Please, no jokes. I don't have the energy to deal with your attempts at humor. Agathon walks to his car with you in tow. It didn't occur to you last time, but it's a surprisingly pedestrian vehicle, an aging mid-sized family sedan. You imagine what it would look like with a baby seat in the back. Opening the door on the driver's side, Agathon notices your look. Laugh all you want, but it's inconspicuous and practical. You sit in the car and Agathon starts driving in his usual careful style. At least you'll never be stopped by traffic cops. It seems Agathon is not interested in small talk. Stay silent. You decide it's best to let Agathon drive in peace. Agathon is very comfortable driving in silence. You look out the window, wondering at the ordinary lives of the people you pass by. Suddenly, Agathon snaps you out of your reverie. Let me ask you something, Porcelain. Do you enjoy the hunt? I've only done it once, so sure. Of course, I thought all kindred did. I mean, maybe I feel guilty sometimes, but it's such a rush. Not all kindred enjoy it, but you're right, most do. There's something melancholy in Agathon's voice you can't quite parse. You exit Manhattan over the Brooklyn Bridge and soon reach the site of the nightclub that seems to be your destination. It's on the riverfront, a converted former warehouse. After Agathon parks the car, it's time for you to enter the nightclub. You glance at the Tremere evaluating him. It's obvious this is not his kind of place. It's not your kind of place, not exactly, but you've probably been here and just forgotten it. For a bunch of perennially penniless art types, your friends were always good at trawling through every gutter in search of a high. There's a good chance the research notes are here. Also, I have to reply to a text real quick. So I'm just gonna go do that. Okay. So it's not certain? You're not certain what we're looking for is here? Nothing in life or death is certain. There's a line into the club. It looks like a popular spot, even if, based on the crowd, this is not exactly a place for supermodels and celebrities. Oh, wait in line. You join the line with Agathon. He looks uncomfortable, as if he had hoped that you could somehow get in faster. Let's not forget the masquerade, bud. It's better if we play it cool. No risk of blowing our cover. Just two club goers waiting in line. Fine, you're right. Let's not make a spectacle of ourselves. You stand in line for 15 minutes and eventually get past the bouncer and step inside. The music beats down on you, bringing with it memories of a human existence. The first time you went dancing with friends, when you flirted with someone on the dance floor. This time it's different. You're a predator, and everyone around you is prey, tightly packed, twitching sacks of blood and tissue. You sense the emotions all around you. Blood tinted with happiness, lust, rage, jealousy, love. A buffet of sensations. Focus. Keep an eye for trouble while I look for what we came to find. You nod and follow Agathon through the throng, trying to ignore all the warmth, flesh, and circulating blood around you. Ooh, I mean, we do need to feed. You decide that the opportunity to feed has been handed to you, and it would be churlish to refuse. A young Latino man is dancing close to a beautiful, drugged-out girl. She takes his face in her hands and kisses him on the mouth. You slide close to them and sink your teeth into the man's neck. He moans from the pleasure of the kiss, and the girl assumes it's because of her. You check to see that nobody's watching and lick the wound closed before disengaging and returning to look for Agathon. You find a young, intense woman pointing a finger at his face. Agathon, you traitor! Don't you dare stand between me and what's mine. You look at the woman in surprise. Her appearance stands in contrast with the anger in her words. Juno, you know Aisling will not let you leave with the notes. Perhaps she won't let you leave at all. Juno pulls close to Agathon's face and stage whispers loudly enough for you to hear her over the music. You're still so brainwashed that you care about what Aisling fucking Sturbridge wants? I'm done jumping through her hoops. I don't know why I saw it in you, Agathon. You're such a lapdog. She's your ex? Sorry to interrupt, but is this woman your ex? Yes, we used to date. Maybe we still would if you weren't such a fucking coward, Agathon. That's not fair, Juno. It's fair and you know it. You're too busy licking Aisling's boots to realize what we had. Aisling doesn't wear boots. Fuck, I forgot about this guy. And how just literal he is. Don't correct me. With a start, you realize Juno is genuinely upset. It's hard to say how long ago they broke up, but the wounds are still there. You're the kind of man who takes the side of his boss over his girlfriend. Juno's eyes glisten red with blood of her tears. You look at Agathon with uncertainty. It was for your own good. Juno steps back, suddenly cold. Ignoring the dancing people around, she stares hard at Agathon. Also, I just need to send a quick text again. I know, I'm the worst. I'm sorry. Okay. The past is past. The traditions are dead to me. You won't stop me, Agathon. I'll make sure of that here and now. You know I have the power. No, Juno, please. Agathon sounds panicked. He's not worried about his own survival, but of the possibility that Juno is going to unleash a genuine masquerade breach. Reason with her, sucker punch her, or calm her down with the presence. We'll calm her down. Calling on the powers of your blood, you step closer to Juno, between her and Agathon. Agathon was being an asshole. Don't hurt yourself, just get back at him. He's not worth it. Juno looks at you in the eye, and you can see that she's tired and scared. Defecting from the Tremere is not easy or safe. You're right. She turns to go, then stops and glances back at you. You should pick better friends. With that, Juno walks through the oblivious dancers towards the exit. Looking around, you realize that Agathon didn't stay to witness your exchange with Juno. Instead, he worked his way around the dancing crowd, looking for the notes using his arcane methods. After Juno is gone, he returned, shaking his head. The notes were here, but not anymore. It's possible someone grabbed them when they hunted here. After making sure Juno is nowhere to be seen, you and Agathon push your way back outside. Outside, you walk to Agathon's car and drive back over the Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan, heading for Agathon's haven. Juno mentioned some very personal things. I trust your discretion in not discussing those things with Aisling. Of course, dude. Your love life is your business. Thank you. After a while, you reach Agathon's haven, and he parks the car. You walk to the occult bookstore, and Agathon invites you inside. The smell of incense assaults you as before, making you grateful you don't have to breathe. You follow Agathon upstairs to find Aisling Sturbridge in an armchair reading an old book. She puts a bookmark in place as you come in. You were successful, I hope. No, I'm sorry. The notes were there at some point, but not anymore. That's a shame. I hope you don't run out of time. How did Sophie's little protege do? Agathon turns to look at you. These fledglings come and go. Let's see after a few years. Very true. I'll have to ask Sophie why she took this one in. She must have a reason. We met Juno. Fortunately, she couldn't find the notes either. That's interesting. The High Regent turns to look at you. What was your impression of Juno, fledgling? Ixthon's ex, driven. She's very driven, motivated. I don't think she'll desist easily. You're probably right. Juno could have made a great member of our house in different circumstances. Instead, she became a headache. You'll understand if you have childcare of your own some night, fledgling. Anyway, I have things to discuss with Agathon. Run along now. You'll leave the occult bookstore, the cheesy mystical music still in your ears. As you walk away! What fucking perfect timing! You wonder about what happened with Juno. Why is she so anxious to leave her clan? Can she really do that? Could you leave Sophie's service if you wanted to? Yeah, gotta rest. God. We know I gotta rest, my dude. You're walking down the street towards your haven. In some other town, the sidewalks would be deserted this time of night. In NYC, there are plenty of passerbys going about their business. It's easy to be paranoid when you're a vampire surrounded by a crowd of humans. The kindred have many enemies, and all those enemies have one trait in common. They're invisible, indistinguishable from normal humanity. Other vampires, hunters, all look like people. Is that old man just a tired restaurant worker, or a kindred thrall tailing your movements? Are the officers idly waiting in a patrol car ordinary cops, or Second Inquisition specialists looking to end undead threats? This kind of thinking leads to madness, but you can't shake the feeling that someone is watching you. It's not the first time you felt like this. Following the queue of so many mortals around you, you stop at a street corner to casually survey your surroundings, as if you were trying to remember which turn to take. You look around ostensibly at street signs, but in reality to see if someone really is following you. Down the street where he came from, a crowd of young drunk men argue loudly about baseball. There's an indistinct figure standing behind them, almost impossible to notice. A woman, probably. The men unconsciously move around her as they start to walk away, still mouthing off at each other. Whatever it is, it's probably something you have to take care of. Best case, someone is tailing you. Worst case, you'll be attacked and killed. Unfortunately, being undead has its limitations. The sun is coming up soon, and you'll burn to a crisp if you stay on the streets. You reach your haven and settle in for the day, disconcerted by the idea that someone might know where you sleep. Great! As you wake from your slumber and emerge from your haven for the night, you notice a familiar face on the other side of the street, standing on the corner and looking straight at you. It's Casier's lackey whom you met recently, Jackie. He nods to you, encouraging you to approach. His hands are outside of his pockets, and he seems pretty relaxed. He's keeping his eyes on the street, though, as if making sure you're alone. He smiles awkwardly when you approach. Evening. Got something for you from our mutual friend. He produces a crumpled piece of paper from his jacket pocket and hands it to you. Read it, memorize it, then give it back here. It's a letter. The paper might be just a page ripped out of the spiral notebook, but the writing on it exquisitely detailed and deliberate. It reads, "Time to square your debt with me. Go to the wine shop at 232 Mulberry Street and ask for the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro." Okay. Hopefully I don't have to remember that. 232 Mulberry Street. When they tell you they don't have it, say you are a fidel servitor de la famiglia G. Those exact fucking words. Make sure you get the G right. Fuck, I'm not gonna remember this. You'll get a bottle. Just take it and leave by saying grazie. Don't ask how much it is or anything else. Just walk out. When you have it, come back to Jackie Boy here and let him know. You done? Memorize that shit and hand it over. What's the rush by... what's with all this cloak and dagger nonsense? Didn't think your boss was a letter guy. Didn't peg your boss for a letter kind of guy. As an electronic communication, his whole shtick. Yeah, well, some things are better done the old-fashioned way. You about done with the letter? You know the phrases and addresses mentioned in the letter, then hand it back to Jackie. He immediately reaches for a lighter and burns the letter, putting out the ashes with his boot. So yeah, when you do what the boss asks, come back here so I can tell you where to go next. I'll be in the alley over there, so find me when you have the item, whatever it is. I don't know, and the boss made it extra clear that I shouldn't care, so I don't. See ya. He shuffles away and leaves you to pursue the lead from the letter. Time to pay a visit to Nolita. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note. Not counting local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night, but curiously the wine shop is still open. Inside, a small middle-aged woman with curly hair stands behind the counter in front of a wall filled with wine bottles. There's a door at the back of the room with a small table and chair, occupied by a man in a black faux leather jacket with slick combed back hair. He's reading a newspaper, but pauses as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small steaming cup, then gets back to his broadsheet. Good evening, how can I help you? Be direct, chatter up. Be direct. I would like a bottle of the 1821 Special Reserve Donatella Negro Amaro, please. Let me check our stock. She seems to be looking through a database on the laptop sitting on the counter. She puts on a polite smile. I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment. Sorry. Recite the phrase straight and simple. Casually recite the phrase, and reassure. Recite the phrase straight and simple. I'm a fidèle serviteur de la famiglia G. In that case, let me see if we have any in the back. Wait here, please. The woman leaves the counter and goes through the doors in the back. The man by the table puts down his newspaper and takes another sip from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from the nearby glass. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. Remain silent and wait, dude. You remind yourself of what Casey wrote in the letter and keep quiet, patiently waiting for the woman to return from the back of the store. The man finishes his drink and starts doodling on the newspaper, his eyes staring to you every so often. The doors to the back of the store open, and the proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled squat bottle of crimson liquid. She gives you an apologetic smile. Suski, sorry for taking so long. Turns out we did have it. She offers you the bottle and you reach out to grab it, but she retracts it. You do know what this is, don't you? I'll be taking this, thank you. You focus your blood and immediately see both of the people in the shop focus intently on you and what you're about to say. I know exactly what this is, and I'm the right person to give it to. The woman gives you the bottle without hesitation. Grazie. Deciding you pushed your luck far enough, you nod and exit the store, then take a brisk walk to your car. Nobody follows you as you leave Nolita and drive back to your apartment. It takes you some time to find a parking spot, but you finally get out of the car and start looking for Jackie. He's not far from where you parted ways just under 2 hours ago. Got the goods? Sure do. I sure do. Cool, stand by, gotta make the call. He takes a few steps into a narrow space between two buildings and takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carrying last time. Hey boss, yeah they have it. Where do I point them to? Okay, yeah, I'll tell them to go there right away. He puts the phone back in his pocket and turns back to you. Well, it's point, half an hour, so you better step on it. See you around. With only a flippant salute, Jackie starts walking down the street. You make your way back to the car and drive. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here. Willet's Point is quite a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, the nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car once you realize that if you go any further, the potholes will kill your chassis. You step out into one of those gashes in the asphalt, splashing in the ankle-deep. Oh, there was more to that sentence that I didn't scroll down. Casey's limo is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of a lonely bar, a middle-aged woman who's just locking the place up. We got a feed. This is too perfect an opportunity to not take advantage of. She's walking to her car, ready to call it night when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong hold and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarettes in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. She passes out, your assault the closing note of a long day at work. You let her down gently and feel a pang of remorse. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this, for sure. The bright lights of a car pulling over down the road illuminate you as you close the door. It's a black limo. Casier's finally here, it would seem. Same as last time, the car door opens, but nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time, Casier is visible when you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you. So you pulled it off without a hitch, then. Give it here. You hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it gently, takes a whiff, and puts the cork back in. Yeah, that's the stuff. See, that wasn't so hard. Consider your debt paid. Oh yeah, and also take this. It's what Langley wanted. He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. Thank you, Mr. Casier. I don't want to mess with this dude. Yeah, I'll send Jackie over if I ever need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to get out now. He waves you out of the car. With the envelope in hand, you get out, back into the torn asphalt and decrepit surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you can return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. Gregory lets you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh, and you realize Sophie's having a guest over. He's the man from Elysium, the one with the glasses and good taste in suits. You didn't have the chance to talk to him last you saw him. Ah, Porcelain, so glad to see you. Tell me, did the two of you previously meet? The man doesn't wait for an answer. He approaches you with an energetic, almost dance-like step and puts out his hand. Oh, you have like a... Is that a scarf around your neck, my dude? Thomas Arturo, I've heard about you. Pleasure, pleasure. Thomas is a great source of gossip and an excellent conversationalist. I also have the prince's ear, which is the primary reason dear Miss Langley wished to speak to me tonight. Good gossip, even coming from me, isn't nearly as valued. Sad. Sophie is taken aback by the man's direct comment, but smiles politely. The awkward atmosphere is broken again by the guest's grating laugh. I kid, of course, I kid. Well, I was about to leave anyway, so I'll leave you two to it. Good night, Sophie. Porcelain, Greggy boy. Sophie's driver opens the door for Arturo, and the guest steps out with a single wave of the hand towards his host and you. The doors close. He's quite the character, isn't he? Yes, quite, but he has his uses. Thomas has clout in court and access to many juicy details of everyone from the prince on the lowest primagon, or lowliest, my apologies. Just gonna take a sip. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his eccentricity requires some patience. Speaking of patience, you have been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Casey and acquire what I asked for? Yes, but I had to do another job for him first. I have it. Sorry for the wait. Yeah, I had to do another job. Yes, I have it, but the data you offered was old news to him. I had to do another job for him before he would give me this card. She retrieves the envelope from you. I'm sure he did. I do hope it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. Had to retrieve a bottle for him. I had to deal with the servant first. He's just a huge prick. I had to retrieve a bottle for him. He made me go on an entirely separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Nolita. I had to use code phrases and whatnot. Wine shop? Code phrases? That degenerate pest. She's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that whatever Casey had you do, it'll blow over. She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw in Casey's note from before, but can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Yes, excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative, my dear charge. I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers you outside, and you are left to do with the rest of this night's hours as you like. All right. Mi abuela, one more visit to the chantry of the Five Boroughs and to Agathon, who's starting to be surrounded by a smell of danger. Somebody's watching me. Part 1. Recently, your feeling of someone's tailing you. Time to confirm your suspicions. Another hope. Gumshoeing the... well, let's do tailing. Someone is following you around. Has been for a few nights, maybe longer. This can't be a good thing. The only question is what to do about it. Provoke the stalker to appear. Tell Sophie you have a problem. Let's be honest with Sophie. This is clearly something more serious than what you can figure out on your own. You have to ask Sophie for help. She must have experience with all kinds of stalkers, invisible or not. You make your way to Sophie's apartment, feeling watched the whole way. It would be better if you could shake the tail, but something tells you that's impossible. A ghoul... Oh, alright, let's see what a ghoul is. A minion created by giving a bit of vampiric vitae to a mortal without draining them of blood first, which would create a vampire instead. Cool. A ghoul lets you into Sophie's apartment. You're not sure how many servants she has, but there's servility creeps you out. Does vampire blood do that to people, or is it just Sophie's personality? The ghoul tells you that Sophie is not in and bids you to wait in the living room. You do as directed, settling down on a sofa. As you sit contemplating Sophie's decor, you feel strange, as if the feeling of being followed on the street never really left you. You don't have time to think more on this because Sophie strides in, clearly in a good mood. If it isn't my favorite stray, am I imagining it, or have you started to dress a little better? You stand up, too worried to waste time on small talk. Being followed, I have a weird feeling when I go out. Some kids turn invisible, right? And then creep after others they're kind? Yes, many do. I'm guessing this is not a chance question. This is a cause for concern, to be sure. In fact, Sophie looks around the room, suddenly startled. I can't believe it. As Sophie stands up, ready to face whatever danger she senses, an invisible force pushes aside her servant standing in the doorway. You hear the door to Sophie's apartment open and close. Sophie sighs and settles back down as the ghoul disappears into the hallway in a vain effort to catch the stalker. I suppose I should scold you, but in a town full of Malakvians and Nosferatu, that's probably useless. Sometimes this happens. This is embarrassing. You should be careful. I'll assign one of my servants to watch your haven. You leave Sophie's apartment chastened and confused. If invisible or locks and gestures can follow you anywhere, how are you supposed to stop them? Perhaps it's all part of the game that kindred seem to play with each other. Hard to say if that makes it better or worse. Alright then, well, that was that day. Well, we'll do one more day. That day was quite short, actually. Oh, we got a couple more. Faith and Myth Part 2. Benoit Segal wants to meet you again at the cathedral. You wonder whether that mysterious priest will be there. There's a sleeper's report from Gossip Magazine stuffing around Sophie's Haven. She could use your help with the problem. Let's do Gunshoe in the Dark for now. As you make your way down Clinton Street, the incessant hum of traffic gives way to the ominous silence of the waterfront. You stop to take in the familiar bouquet of the Hudson, made all the more potent by your recent sharpened senses. Across the basin, the Red Hook grain terminal rears its rusty frame. Once a bustling industrial area, now a sleeping giant laid out on the riverbank, forgotten, abandoned. Conveniently so, especially for one of the hidden. Keeping to the shadows, you sneak closer to the dilapidated complex, making your way past hole-ridden silos and wobbly chain-link fences. By the time you reach the entrance to the main building, you can almost feel the rust particles making themselves cozy at the back of your throat. Not getting your hopes up, you give the door a slight nudge. To your surprise, it gives almost instantly. Looks like someone's been using it recently. Once inside, you find yourself in a large empty hall. Looking around, you can almost picture it back in its heyday, stacked to the rafters with heavy machinery. You notice a set of stairs leading up to a mezzanine, most likely an office space, and then you see it, a faint light coming from one of the upper rooms. Looks like you're in luck. Quietly, with bated breath, you climb the steps and approach the dimly lit room. The door creaks open, revealing what looks like an old-timey detective's office, complete with crooked window blinds, an overflowing ashtray, and paper scattered across a wooden desk. Suddenly it hits you, that nagging feeling. This is all too convenient, too inviting. Before you can react, the trap is already sprung. A plume of cigar smoke wafts over your shoulder. The barrel of a gun rubs against your spine. A raspy voice whispers in your ear. Let me guess, took a wrong turn at the third silo. Attempt to talk down these, saying that, well, you decide to play along. Raising your arm slowly, you weigh your next words carefully. You're pretty sure a bullet to the back wouldn't kill you, but it doesn't sound too pleasant either. So this isn't Bloodsuckers Anonymous? Let's not do anything rash. How about we talk like civilized kindred? Let's do this, although I really want to do Bloodsuckers Anonymous, but I have a feeling we'll get shot. How about you lower the gun so we can talk like civilized kindred? Oh, I'm plenty civilized, see? You can feel the barrel digging deeper into your back. Double action, carbon steel frame. The finest handgun your hard-earned money can buy. Doesn't get much more civilized than that. Hello, Opal. Aww. I got a little Opal. Cute. Have it your way, hit him. Oh, have it your way. Fine, have it your way. Your elbow shoots out like a jackhammer, aiming straight for the gunman's face, but only hitting smoke. Looking back, you catch a glimpse of your assailant as he literally dissolves into the shadows. Bastard's quick. You gotta give him that, probably. You tense up, right, to dodge whatever's coming, but instead of a shot, a voice rings out from the darkness. Try as you might, you can't tell where it's coming from, as it echoes across the room. Easy there, pretty boy. We wouldn't want you to break a sweat. Tell you what, I like a guy who can take care of himself, so I'll give you a chance to explain yourself. Unfortunate visit. Or explain your unfortunate visit. Better make it count, though. You got one shot at this, and then I get one. In a strange interplay of light and shadow, the stranger reappears behind his desk. Seeing him in his full, for lack of a better word, glory, you can't help but smirk. This is the dreaded Nosferatu? The way Sophie described them, you were expecting some grotesque monstrosity. But this guy? The clothes, the swagger, the hard-boiled detective routine, it all comes across as a bad joke. Still, when it comes to appearances, his lineage is undeniable. From 30 feet away, he could probably pass for a bum with a nasty skin condition. From 5 feet away, he looks like something made to be seen from 30 feet away. He leans back in his chair, casually pointing his gun at you. So, what brings you to my humble office? I'm looking for a Nosferatu. Are you D'Angelo, the Red Hook murders? Are you D'Angelo? You the one they call D'Angelo? That's my name, kid. Don't wear it out. My friends call me Jin, so you better stick to D'Angelo for the time being. Now I suggest you tell me what this is about. Otherwise, I kindly ask you to get the fuck out of my office. I can see why Kadir keeps you. Yeah, I can see why Kadir keeps you. Charming, I can see why Kadir keeps you around. His expression sours. Not a name you want to casually toss around, kid. But hey, I get it. You're not some random schmuck who wandered in here off the street. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Who I work for is less important. What I'm working on, however, I know I'm here to help. The Red Hook murders, I know. I want to help you catch the killer. His moldy lips twist into a smile. Do you now? D'Angelo lowers his shades. For a few seconds he sits motionless, with his eyes fixed on yours. Suddenly he raises his gun, almost making you flinch. Almost. Then he twirls it onto his shoulder into his shoulder holster in a flashy display that definitely looks like it was practiced. A lot. In front of a mirror. You see the Nosferatu's lips move, but the quiet mumbling clearly isn't meant for your ears. Listening in, you're able to catch snippets of his monologue. Sure, they seem to care. What was the endgame? What was their angle? Everybody's got one, even if they pretend they don't. Especially then. What the hell? Maybe this town finally got to me. It's an LA noir thriller with this guy. He pauses, sticks a fresh cigar between his crooked teeth. Maybe a good leap of faith is just what the doctor ordered. Are you narrating? Offer him a light. Offer him a light. As he reaches into his pocket, you flash a lit lighter before his eyes. Or maybe you could use a healthy dose of unhealthy. For a split second, he gives you a puzzled look. Then he leans over to your lighter, puffing on the cig as it catches fire. A wry smile comes back to his lips. I like you, kid. You might look like a used car salesman, but there's just something about you. Tell you what. I was just about to head back to the crime scene, take a look around, refresh my notes. You can tag along if you want to. I could use an assistant. Someone to take notes and make wild assumptions for me to shoot down. Who knows? If you're any good, I might consider making this a long-term arrangement. Sounds good. You won't regret it. What are we waiting for? Sounds good. Sure it does, kid. I'm the one who said it. Just one more thing. You still got me at a disadvantage here. Seems like you've done some digging on me, but with you, I barely scratched the surface. Catch my drift? So answer me this. Who was it that sent you into my neck of the woods? Or in layman's terms, who do you work for? Sophie Langley. Yeah, Sophie Langley. For the first time since you got here, the Nosferatu adopts a look of genuine surprise. His eyes wander for a moment, finally giving way to a crooked smile. So you're the one, huh? The fledgling the Toreador Dame spared. Yeah, that would make sense. Don't think she'd appreciate you throwing her name around. Thanks for being up front, kid. One blink is enough for you to miss D'Angelo vanishing from his chair. Just when you're about to look around, he reappears right next to you. Up close, his smile is even more unnerving. Alright, moonlight's burning, let's get cracking. With a certain fascination, you watch D'Angelo stumble his way across West Brooklyn. Oddly animated, incessantly scratching his face and neck, stopping every once in a while for a bout of mumbling narration. He is most certainly a sight to behold. Still, he seems to be getting around okay, and you take particular note of the fact that he seems to be choosing the darker, less frequent streets. There is definitely a method to his madness. Eventually, your leprous guide takes a sudden turn off of Van Brunt Street and into a particularly dingy alleyway. The torn pieces of yellow police tape are a dead giveaway. This has to be the place. Well, here we are. Time for you to earn your stripes. This is where they found him. Drained dry, not a drop of blood in him. And before you ask, no, I didn't get to see the body, so I don't know if there were any bite marks. So, what can you tell me? You take a moment to examine the crime scene. Judging by the chalk outline on the pavement, the man was killed recently. Curiously, there doesn't appear to be a trace of blood or viscera. And you know the city's cleanup crew isn't that fast or that thorough. Looking up, you notice a spray-painted sign on the wall. It reads, "The Blood Speaks," in big, crooked letters. You look to D'Angelo. The Nosferatu gives you an expecting look. The graffiti looks like a clue. How come there's no blood? You're the detective. Graffiti looks like a clue. You point at the spray-painted sign. That looks like a clue. Sure, kid. Might as well start with the elephant in the room. What do you think it means? You give the sign a good hard look. It's no Rembrandt. The writing is jagged, clearly done in a hurry. Seems desperate. It's meant to throw us off. Nothing. It's meant to throw us off. Nah, I can see why you think that, but look at how crooked the letters are. Very legible. You can't fake something like that. Someone was very nervous, very scared. It definitely meant something to them. And then there's the blood, or lack thereof. And given the murder was committed right here and the victim didn't make a sound, we can therefore conclude that the killer is kindred. The killer uses sedative. Killer is kindred, man. Bingo. Only a kindred could drain a human this quickly, this quietly. Tell me, if you were to guess, which clan would you say our killer belongs to? Thinbloods, Mavakians, Tremere. Probably Malakvians. Because they're all into the blood shit, right? Maybe it's a Malakvian serial killer. They're pretty nuts, right? Nah, kid, the Moonies can be a bit playful, but there's method to their madness. It leaves a certain aftertaste. This right here, it just reeks of desperation. I might be jumping to conclusions, but my money's on the Thinbloods. And see, I don't know who the fuck the Thinbloods are. Vampire with blood so diluted they retain many human traits. The Thinbloods are invariably clanless. Survivors of the last decades of pogroms, prejudice, and ostracization. Their numbers now swell. Their messy street alchemy and ability to pass as human makes them uniquely suited to thrive outside kindred society and make their own fate in the postmodern nights. The thin-blooded can be of any mortal origin and are not affected by their parent clan's curse, nor by their preferences in the same degree as their sire. In 2009, the Inner Circle of the Camarilla issued an edict that all thin-blooded must be branded or tattooed with the mark of the crescent moon, inked by a Tremere tattoo artist or scorched with a beam of sunlight. The brand is irreversible. Many kindreds still view the Thinbloods as a threat to the Masquerade, weaklings, runoffs, abortions, and will destroy them, if given the chance. Those who don't despise Thinbloods tend to call them the young ones, chameleons, or duskborns. Interesting. He pauses, spits out the mangled remains of a cigar. Shit, looks like we're gonna have to pay Larson a visit. Thinblood, Primogen, why him? You don't sound Thinblood? Larson, the Thinblood Primogen? No, Larson, the bicycle repairman. Of course the Thinblood fucking Primogen. Not sure if he knows who the killer is, but he could probably make an educated guess. In any case, we'd be doing him a favor. If it turns out that one of his is violating the Masquerade, it would put him in a hell of an awkward position. And I mean, shitting upside down awkward. It's the kind of weakness the other Primogen would love to exploit. His position in the council is bad as it is. He pauses for a moment and mumbles to himself, but it's too quiet for you to make out. Finally, he lights up a fresh cigar. He takes a puff and lets the smoke escape through his crooked smile. All right, kid, let's get this over with. Compared to the industrial ugliness of Red Hook, Sterling Place is quite a change of scenery. The heavily gentrified and pleasantly dull residential area emanates the sort of peaceful apathy that rich hipsters scoff at and blue-collar workers dream of. All of a sudden, the Nosferatu stops. It almost seems like he was taking a deep breath, steeling himself for things to come. This is the place. With that, he points to a surprisingly nice-looking two-story house. The place is almost completely dark. Almost. You notice a dim light shining through the curtains of an upper-story window. It's probably safe to assume that the head of the family is working late, especially if the head of the family happens to be a vampire. Okay, kid, we gotta be gentle about this. I'm talking velvet gloves, soft cushions. You rang my lord gentle. We need to get Larson out here without making a fuss or letting his family see us. If we blow this, he'll shut down like a speakeasy on raid night. Trust me, I know. Sounds like you two have some history. Let's get to it. What's the plan? Okay, so what's the plan? Tell you what, how about you take the lead on this one? Curious to see how you handle it. I wouldn't, but that's okay. You take a step back and look around the area. The lit-up window seems like a safe bet. Now it's just a matter of getting Larson's attention, his and no one else's. As you're trying to come up with a viable strategy, you are suddenly startled by a loud noise. It takes you a second to identify the sound as a dog's barking. It doesn't take you long to figure out where it came from, as a bearded man leading a Rottweiler on a leash comes into view. Ring the doorbell, throw a small rock at the window, a man walking his dog, feeding opportunity. Throw a small rock in the window. You kneel down and pick a rock off the lawn, one small enough to not break glass, but big enough to get someone's attention. Deftly, you chuck the rock at the window. It bounces off the glass with quiet but audible thunk. Moments pass in silence, making you think no one got your message. Just as you start to look for another rock, you hear the window slide open. A very unassuming and slightly unshaven man in a turtleneck appears at the window. As soon as he notices you, his expression sours, like he just smelled something rotten. He addresses your Nosferatu partner in what could only be described as a very loud and very angry whisper. Get the fuck off my lawn, D'Angelo. You know goddamn better than to show your ugly mug around here. You glance over to D'Angelo. He looks somewhat embarrassed, scratching the back of his neck, clearly trying to find the right angle to play this. Get down here, we get loud. this was important. We wouldn't have bothered you if this wasn't important. Porcelain, stay where you are. Oh yeah, because I talked to this guy earlier. You wait out in the lawn, listening to Larson quietly making his way downstairs. Before long, he appears on the porch, locking the front door behind him. He motions at you to follow him off to the side of the house. There he turns towards you. What do you want? It's about the Red Hook murders. We think one of yours is responsible. Bullshit. A Duskborn's got enough trouble just staying alive out here. What could possibly make them openly violate the Masquerade? Desperation? Killer's been leaving messages. Whoever they are, they think they know something. Something they can't share with just anyone. I know it seems far-fetched, but it's the only way this puzzle fits together. Nah, I don't buy it. You're reaching. Trying to find a scapegoat. Getting your boss's good graces. Word gets around to Angelo. You think I don't know who you're working for? Then help us clear your name. Figured you'd cover one of your own. What if we stop asking politely? Then help us clear your name, dude. Then help us clear your people's name. What have you got to lose? Everything. I've been a thorn in the council's side for a while now. This is just the excuse they need to get rid of me. What if it turns out one of yours did it, and you've sat on your hands to protect him? You think the council won't jump on that? He looks off into the darkness, pondering his options. He lets out a heavy sigh. Look, I'll ask around, consult my sources. If it turns out one of my own is responsible, they will face justice. In the meantime, keep your deductions to yourself. I have enough trouble as it is. Deal. Good. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to my family. And with that, Larson retreats to the elusive safety of his home. You decide it's best to move along. You walk a couple blocks in utter silence. Even D'Angelo's mumbling seems to have taken a back seat. Oddly enough, you find his newfound reticence somewhat unnerving. Finally, the Nosferatu stops and turns towards you. Hell of a night. I don't know about you, kid, but I sure could use a drink. Something warm, in a tall, sweaty glass. But first, let me tell your score. Let's see now. Right off the bat, you resort to what we in the biz call bullshit fisticuffs. It's sometimes necessary, but generally frowned upon. You held your own at the crime scene. Nothing I haven't figured out on my own, but hey, we can't all be professionals. Finally, when this situation called for subtlety, you managed to avoid unwanted attention. Discretion is what separates a private dick from just any old dick. All in all, you did fine. Not fine, but not bad for your first case. Don't let it get to your head. I'll be in touch. Let you know if I hear from Larson. Be ready to meet him at the office. Sweet smell of success. Trophy earned. Convince D'Angelo to cooperate with you. He starts to walk away, but suddenly stops and turns back toward you. And bring a notepad. Every good assistant should have one. Cool. Let's see. So we got... let's go talk to Cathedral Man. You start to look at churches differently since your last encounter with Benoit. You're not sure what happened inside, but it was unavoidably real. You felt it. When Benoit mentioned that being in the presence of Father Anthony's faith would eventually kill someone like you, an undead being, you believed him. It doesn't seem to be very common, though. In New York, you pass thousands of people every night, and none of them have made you feel so afraid and insignificant. If you were to encounter someone like Father Anthony in the subway or a nightclub, you would know. There are many churches in the 5 boroughs, and you're pretty sure most of them don't contain someone whose faith can touch you in this way. Yet you become wary. They just might. Still, tonight the cathedral looks as before, a striking landmark acting as a symbol of faith for people who have no idea that vampires exist in their midst. For them, questions of faith and myth are theoretical or philosophical. For you, those same questions suddenly define the meaning of your new existence. You sneak into the cathedral like an old hand, as if you're going to church had been a regular part of your life. Inside, the cathedral is almost deserted. You're not sure if you'll be meeting Benoit alone. The idea of feeling Father Anthony's faith on your undead flesh freezes you with terror. Benoit is waiting for you in the front pews of the cathedral, in the exact same spot where you saw Father Anthony. Worried, you approach, but you don't feel the touch of faith that shook you before. Benoit nods as you sit next to him in the pew. Aren't you worried? I have so many questions. Many kindred wonder what we are. I don't like this, Benoit, but I guess a lot of kindred are worried about what we really are. You can walk away. Many of our kindred choose to live in ignorance of what it really means to be damned. You've had some time to think. I'm guessing you found the touch of Father Arthur's faith hard to ignore. For most people, God's presence is a question of faith. When I talk with Father Anthony, it feels like proof. Benoit is fervent, intense as he speaks. It's clear these questions have consumed his existence. Perhaps they'll consume yours too. I don't think they will. but I just want to see where this road leads. Can't stop thinking about divine purpose. This is kindred culture. What does the Camarilla believe? What do the kindred of the Camarilla believe? The old ones. It's true, the elders are not always so good at touching their chowder. Maybe the Camarilla would function better if we all knew these stories. Benoit looks around reflectively to make sure nobody is listening. There are only a few people in the enormous cathedral, and they don't seem to be interested in two loners murmuring to each other in the front pew. It might seem like ancient history, things that happened thousands of years ago, but time works differently for our kind. If the stories are true, there are Methuselahs, I don't fucking know, still in existence who walked the earth when Jesus was alive. The only problem is that old vampires lie. They adjust history to suit their egos. You can talk to different elders. Surely something was written down. Let's focus on what we can verify. Shouldn't we focus on what we can verify here and now? Our blood, the effects of Father Anthony's belief? I suppose that would be the scientific approach. Still, I can't let go of the idea that the old stories will tell us something. This is how the story goes. God cursed Cain as punishment for the murder of Abel. Cain walked the night shunned by humanity and drank blood to sustain himself. Even from the point of our origin, we are damned. However, the story becomes really interesting when we move forward. Cain creates more of our kind, often referred to as a second generation. Generation, the number of steps between a vampire and the mythical Cain, how far descended from the first a given vampire is. Low generation provides great power, just as it does a stronger curse and hunger. They lived in the first city, later called Enoch, ruling openly over the city's human inhabitants. I see the first city as Cain's redemption. Cursed by God to wander, he remade himself as a ruler and lawgiver, acting as an immortal shepherd to humanity. It only started to go wrong when the second generation begat the third and vampires started to run amok. So the third generation. What happened to the first city? Vampires ruled openly over humans. What happened to the first city? It was lost in the deluge. Noah had his ark to save him, but our kind had to rely on our gifts of blood. If you're skeptical about this piece of history, remember that even a local flood can bring massive destruction. After the first city, Cain largely departs the story. Perhaps he was disheartened by the depredations of his descendants. The antediluvians? Sure. Went on to build a second city in imitation of the first, but it's doubtful their rule was just. Antediluvians, the progenitors, members of the dreaded third generation, and the founders of the 13 vampire clans. Jeez, I cannot read today. There are people moving in the cathedral, and both you and Benoit have... Wow, my brain just glitched. There are people moving in the cathedral, and both you and Benoit have made sure none get close enough to hear you talk. As Benoit goes on, your undead senses detect something that deviates from the normal hubbub of devout mortals, cathedral workers, and tourists. You hear the squeaking wheels of an old wheelchair that hasn't been taken out too often. We've been doing this for 20 years, and still you pull stuff like this, Michael. Why did you bring your sister? We're on the field. This is no place for the disabled. The voice is that of an older man, Midwestern. He sounds exasperated, as if he was rehashing an argument for the 100th time. She wanted to come. She doesn't get out of the house very often. Besides, you should be grateful, Bobby. We should have never found our new partners without her. The second voice belongs to an old man, too. It's more intense and still holds echoes of a Russian accent. I'm not gonna fucking attempt to do a Russian accent. Yes, because she talked about vampires online and got your door busted in by the FBI, as I remember. We did, sure, but we cleared the misunderstanding and now we're consultants, so quit your griping. Bobby, Michael, play nice. You sound like an old couple. The third voice has a heavier Russian accent and belongs to an older woman. All three have clearly known each other for a long time. Let's find Father Anthony and see if he can help us. From what I've heard, he is an exceptional man. Yeah, exceptional, but he doesn't like moles. You nudge Benoit and discreetly point out the three people approaching you along the cathedral's central aisle. He nods in understanding. This is bad news, whoever these three are. We need to get out. Let's meet outside. Walk out right past the mortals. Move discreetly to the side. Run out before they notice you. Move discreetly. Better not to call attention to yourself. You decide to move to the side of the cathedral and pretend to pray at an altar. You walk casually towards the side, away from the three approaching mortals. You feel their eyes boring into your back, but you force yourself to be cool. Benoit is nowhere to be seen. You blinked and he disappeared in a burst of speed. You're worried it was too conspicuous, but maybe the mortals missed it. You pretend to admire the architecture for a while before glancing back at the trio. They have settled at the exact spot you just occupied, apparently waiting for something and conversing in hushed tones. Once you're sure their attention is elsewhere, you start walking briskly down the side aisle towards the exit. That was a close call. Who were those three? Fuck you, Benoit, you were quite fast. Who were those three? Did you recognize them? I might have. I'm not sure. There's talk of a few tenacious vampire hunters living in the city. One of them is supposed to be a woman in a wheelchair. For a second, Benoit looks at you as if he was wondering whether he should say something. There's one thing I've always wondered about the story of Cain. The traditions of the Camarilla put a lot of faith in the relationship between sire and child. You're supposed to follow the example of your maker. Yet Cain didn't really seem to care for the vampires he embraced. Did he think it was a mistake to create our kind? My sire left me. We should make our way in the world to kindred care what Cain thinks. My daddy left me. My sire left me. Is that common among the kindred? Yes, unfortunately. The kindred are selfish and cruel. You know, I'm Sophie's child and you're her protege. It's amazing that we share an appreciation for the mythologies of our kind, considering Sophie has little interest in questions of the spirit. You stare at Benoit. You knew there was something he wasn't telling you, but in all the talk about Cain in the first city, you forgot about it. Now the only question is, what does this mean? Does Sophie know her child is talking to you? Probably not. Don't hold it against me, but I admit finding some pleasure in seeing you suffer the effects of Father Anthony's faith. I suppose that's the demon in me. That's not cool. I'm not your enemy, man. I understand that you're bitter, Benoit. I'm not your enemy. I'm sorry, I know that. It's just that sometimes I get too tempted by sin. You know we should meet again. We've talked so much about myth, but maybe that's cowardly when the reality of faith is right in front of us. I'll introduce you to Father Anthony. You nod, unsure whether that's a good idea. Benoit walks away and you follow his example, not wanting to hang around the cathedral any longer. So we go rest. Alright, so this is going to be where we are ending for today. So thank y'all so much for watching. If you like the video and want to keep up with more of Vampire the Masquerade, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already and click the notification icon to know whenever I go live. Give the video a like if you liked it, and hey, if you're feeling generous, why not donate to Extra Life? We play video games to help sick kids. So if you're looking at that link, you can scroll to the top of live chat, Nightbot's got you there, or you can go to my channel page, and in the links, it is there. So, we'll see how we'll see how next week goes. I know Tuesday I will not be streaming. I have an appointment. I'm getting my new tattoo. So, Tuesday we're definitely not streaming. And we'll see from there. I will keep y'all updated. So, with that all being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you as always, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!